Hello, and thank you for attempting to access Songdoers. Please enter your passcode. Thank you. Please scan your thumbprint. Thank you. Please honk. Thank you. Please think of a tree. Thank you. Welcome to Songdoers. You can stop thinking of a tree now, but you don't have to. Episode 12, Fire Billies. Fire Billies was a band made up of two very different people. You had Doug, a flutist, and Joe,
Hey, we're not doing the honking anymore.
and Joe, a guitarist. A flutist and a guitarist? You'd think they'd be mortal enemies, but you'd also be so wrong it's not even funny. Doug and Joe met in an allergist's office in Barbados. Doug was having strange reactions to foods, and Joe was having strange reactions to plants. It was a busy day at the office, so the two of them were sat right next to each other in the waiting room. Both of them had their instruments on them, and they struck up a friendly conversation. People in the waiting room exchanged glances like, y'all seeing this? A flutist and a guitarist? Being friendly? The heck? But they were friendly, and after briefly talking about how much they both like music, they were excited to work together. But before we go any further, let me tell you a little bit about this allergist's office. It was located on a street right next door to a recording studio, which was right next door to the Royal High Tea Company. The Royal High Tea Company offered a high tea experience for cruise ship passengers and had a delightful outdoor patio. So the street went allergist, recording studio, high tea place. Got it? Press 3 if you got it. Okay, you got it. Now, at the same time as Doug and Joe were meeting and coming up with a cool idea for a song, the High Tea Company was having a small difficulty. They were out of tea, and the cruise ship customers were getting impatient. So the High Tea Company decided to make their own tea out of leaves from the ground. While the High Tea Company was cooking up leaf tea, things had gotten awkward over in the allergist's office. "No way, no how," the allergist said when he was told he had to see the flutist. "I ain't seeing no flutist that's friends with no guitarist. Them two instruments don't go together, nuh-uh." So Doug and Joe had a difficult decision to make. Stay together in a band or break up so they could be seen by the allergist. They decided that the world would never accept them, so they split up before they even recorded one song. Meanwhile, over at the Royal High Tea Company, things were reaching a boiling point. The customers were served leaf tea and instantly began to complain. "This tea's no good," is something they probably said. "I don't like this tea," is along the lines of what was likely expressed. The staff was getting worried, except for Mr. Bibley, who grabbed a rather large bag and began backing out of the staff room. Back at the allergist's office, Doug was being seen by the allergist. "Maybe it's all the time spent with that guitarist that's causing your swelling and sneezing."
"Doubtful," said Doug. "I only just met him, and I've been experiencing these symptoms for quite some time."
"Bah! Give me your arm." But Doug didn't want to give the allergist his arm. He began to feel sick to his stomach.
"No, Mr. Allergist,"
he responded.
"I don't want to give you my arm or any other of my appendages. I'm going to go associate with a guitarist if I want to, no matter what Barbados or the rest of the world believes. Goodbye!"
And he picked up his flute and went back to the waiting room. Joe had heard everything from the waiting room because the walls were paper thin in that place. The two of them left the allergists and went straight to the recording studio next door. Because remember, it went allergist, recording studio, high tea place. Okay, the geography is important to the story. Back at the high tea place, the cruise ship customers were freaking out. "You served us bad tea," one customer shouted. "We don't like this tea," expressed another loudly. The staff all cowered in their staff room, except for Mr. Bibley, who began sneaking by the cruise ship passengers with his large bag. "That's one of the staff members," someone shouted, and Mr. Bibley, startled, dropped his bag. Well, out spilled a whole bunch of tea. "He was stealing the tea," said Barbara, the most popular cruise ship passenger on the manifest. "Let's kill him!" The cruise ship passengers began lunging for Mr. Bibley, who braced himself for destruction. But suddenly, from the recording studio next door, a beautiful sound emanated. It was that of a guitar and flute, together in the same song. The passengers were subdued. Mr. Bibley's life was spared. Yes, the union of Doug and Joe was that gorgeous and tubular. A minute later, Doug and Joe left the recording studio and spilled onto the sidewalk.
Nice job, Joe,
said Doug.
You too, Doug,
said Joe. But suddenly, Barbara puked from the leaf tea she drank earlier. And, frustrated with Mr. Bibley for stealing the tea and making her puke, she threw her sandwich at Mr. Bibley. Mr. Bibley ducked, and the sandwich sailed past him and hit Doug on the lips. Doug died instantly because he was allergic to something in the sandwich. Barbara felt really bad, and so did Mr. Bibley. But no one felt worse than Joe, who not only lost a new friend, but a new bandmate as well. The song they recorded that day, The River of Awakening, was the only song they ever recorded. It was written by Doug, who, because he was a flutist, was really smart and used big words. Please now enjoy the recording of the song that subdued a bunch of people on a cruise ship excursion for a brief period of time.
Here I am in the river of awakening. Here I am in the forest of new sensations. Here I am on the mountain of alternate perception, and I will never be the same. Now I understand the game. I'd call you dumb if I were labeling the forest, river, and the mountain aren't your station. I am rapacious even though enlightened. You will always be the same, the owner of a vastly lesser name. I know you guys think me unwise. How could anyone who reached nirvana still hang on to trauma? But things you say just float away, 'cause you can't communicate about what you can't adumbrate. I've transcended. Whoa, 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 whoa. I haven't any more I'd like to sing. This is the end of our communication.
And that'll do it for another episode of Song Doers. Look, as much as I love making Song Doers, I'm a little bit worried that I'm going to have to stop soon. Song Doers is, unfortunately, in big, big trouble. See, there's this monster who keeps... Oh, hang on a sec. Let me look at... Oh, okay, never mind. It's all good now. The monster I was going to explain about blew up, so... We're good. See you next week.